So much for the politicians calling for border polls. What does our survey tell us about the public's appetite for change in the wake of the Brexit decision? Here are some of the results from the survey carried out for The View between August the 16th and September the 2nd by the polling company Ipsos MORI. The first question we asked was, do you think the government should call a referendum on the border? 33% of people said yes, there should be a border poll. But the number of people rejecting that idea was 52%, just over half of those questioned. 15% told us they don't know. Breaking that down by community background, it's maybe no surprise that Protestants are less enthusiastic about holding a border poll. 72% of them were against. By contrast, a narrow majority of Catholics want a referendum to be arranged. I should point out, if you've got your calculators out, that some of these numbers have been rounded up. That tells us whether you want the government to hold a border poll, but if they went ahead and arranged one anyway, how would you vote? A clear majority of those questioned, 63%, told us they'd vote to remain in the UK. By contrast, the number planning to vote for Northern Ireland to join the Republic of Ireland was just 22%. 13% don't know how they'd vote, whilst another 2% aren't intending to participate. Predictably, perhaps, the overwhelming majority of those with a Protestant background would vote to stay in the UK. More than a third of those with a Catholic background would also opt to stay in the UK, but 6% more than that, 43% of the Catholics interviewed, favour a united Ireland. If we return to our overall figures for a moment, there they are, we can provide a clue to how opinion might be shifting over time. 3 years ago, the same pollsters, Ipsos MORI, asked the exact same question for the BBC's Spotlight programme. A direct comparison with that survey shows a slight decrease in the level of support for staying in the UK. It was estimated at 65% back in 2013. That's 2 points higher than our latest figure. This difference, we should point out, is within the pollsters' margin of error. But when we isolate those opting for a united Ireland, we can see there's been a 5-point increase in support for joining the Republic of Ireland, which was just 17% back in the 2013 survey. That's something the pollsters think is significant. And focusing on those with a Catholic background, more than 4 out of 10 told us they'd back a united Ireland. That's up 8 points on the 2013 figure, an increase which also appears to be significant. Over the course of the last 3 years, a united Ireland seems to have leapfrogged staying in the UK as the most popular option for Catholics. Our last set of figures showed a comfortable majority for staying in the UK, but some indicators of increased support for a united Ireland, particularly amongst Catholics. What impact, if any, might the result of June's EU referendum have had on this picture? We asked those who said they would vote in a border poll, either to stay in the UK or join the Republic, if Brexit had affected that choice, or if they'd held the same opinion for a long time. Those who said it had changed their view, 17%. That's less than a fifth of all those planning to vote in any future border poll. And those who said it did not change their view, 83%. Well, that's a very clear majority. Of those who told us they would be voting to stay in the UK, only 11% said Brexit had changed their view. Of those backing a united Ireland, a larger proportion, 32%, attributed their current stance to the impact of Brexit. Delving into the detail, those whose views may have been influenced by the EU result seem slightly more likely to be female, from a Catholic background, and drawn from the affluent AB social classes. But it's worth a reminder that those influenced by Brexit remain a fairly small minority overall. In the immediate aftermath of June's decision to leave the EU, the Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said another independence referendum there was highly likely. Since then, the SNP has appeared to moderate its language, launching what it calls a new conversation about independence. To try to gauge the potential impact here, we asked our final question. If in the future Scotland voted to leave the UK, how might that affect your vote in a border poll here? there were 5 options for people to choose from. 18% told us they would be more likely to vote to stay in the UK. By contrast, 15% reckon they were more likely to vote to join the Republic. But more than half of you, 56%, said that if Scotland leaves the UK, it will not change your view on a referendum on this side of the Irish Sea. 9% don't know how Scottish independence might affect their vote, whilst 1% aren't intending to take part. Of course, this is all very hypothetical. We don't yet know if or when there'll be another Scottish vote or what the result of such a referendum might be. But either way, the majority of people here think a Scottish independence vote won't change their outlook when it comes to a border poll.